Are you gambling with your life savings without even realizing it? That's a really scary thought, isn't it? But for millions of people, that line between smart investing and just pure, reckless gambling has gotten dangerously blurry. And that confusion, well, it can be absolutely catastrophic.
So today, we're going to draw that line in the sand. We're going to break down the critical difference between investing and speculating, and we'll pull back the curtain on how Wall Street has set up a game where really only one of these approaches comes out a winner in the long run. Welcome to another video on investment basics by Mr. Majid Butt. He's an accountant, a software programmer, and an investment researcher, and he's dedicated to making these absolutely essential concepts clear and accessible for everyone. All right, let's dive right in. To really get a grip on the market, you first have to understand that there are two fundamentally different kinds of players out there on the field. Their mindsets, their goals, their results, they couldn't be more different.
So on one side, you have the investor. Think of them like a business owner. They're focused on what a company is actually worth. They do the math. On the other side, the speculator. They're playing a totally different game. They're basically gambling that a stock's price will go up just because somebody else, the greater fool, will come along and pay even more for it. An investor uses business value to judge the stock price. A speculator uses the stock price to judge the business value. See the difference? One can own a stock and not check the price for weeks, while the other is hooked on that ticker tape like it's oxygen.
So what's the dividing line? How do we separate a real investment from a gamble? Well, this right here, this is our compass. It's a simple three-part test. First, thorough analysis. That means you've actually studied the business. Second, it has to promise safety of principle. You're not supposed to lose your money. And third, it offers an adequate return. Not a crazy lottery ticket return, but a solid one. Now here's the kicker. If any financial move fails even one of these tests, it's not investing, it's speculating, period.
To see what happens when an entire country just completely forgets this definition, we need to hop in a time machine. Let's go back to the late 1990s, a time when America basically became a speculation nation, and the consequences, well, they were absolutely devastating. Just look at how patience died. Back in the 70s, people held stocks for 5 years. They were buying pieces of businesses. But by the time the dot-com bubble hit, that was ancient history. You had a so-called long-term fund manager dumping $19 billion in tech stocks in just 8 weeks. A little later, his firm's slogan literally became "every second counts," and by 2002, the average stock was being held for less than a year. Investing had become this frantic, crazy game of hot potato.
And on the NASDAQ, things just went to a whole other level. Just warp speed. This chart is staggering. I mean, look at Puma Technology. Its shares were changing hands on average every 5.7 days. Think about that. People were holding these stocks for less than a business week. The NASDAQ's motto was the stock market for the next 100 years, but its traders could barely hold the stock for 100 hours.
And this whole frenzy was just fueled by propaganda. Online trading was sold as this magical money machine. You had TV ads with tow truck drivers literally buying their own countries, housewives making thousands of dollars with just a few clicks. The message was clear: this is easy, it's effortless. You even had celebrities like Barbra Streisand admitting she'd sell stocks just because the color red made her nervous. Meanwhile, 25-year-old day traders were scoffing that long-term investing wasn't smart. The whole culture had flipped upside down.
It got so crazy that stocks became completely detached from the actual companies. They were just symbols on a screen. When Ticketmaster Online went public, thousands of traders scrambled to buy it, but in their rush, they bought the wrong ticker. They bought TMCO, a tiny building maintenance company, instead of TMCS. TMCO's stock nearly tripled in minutes. These traders had no idea what company they were even buying.
And if you want the ultimate example of the mania, get this. A company called Juno Online Services announced its new business plan. They were going to give everything away for free and burn millions on advertising. They were openly trying to lose as much money as they possibly could. So what did the market do? It sent the stock rocketing from $16 to almost $67 in 2 days. A year later, it was worth about $1. Bad news was good news, and fundamentals meant absolutely nothing.
Now, this madness wasn't just limited to hyperactive day trading. Oh no, it also showed up in these so-called proven formulas and get-rich-quick systems that promised you could beat the market with, zero effort. Let's look at a couple that just completely fell flat on their face.
So back in 1996, a money manager named James O'Shaughnessy published a book with a very, very tempting title, What Works on Wall Street. And in it, he made this incredibly bold claim. He argued that with his automated strategies, you could have turned $10,000 into over $8 million in 40 years, absolutely demolishing the market averages. But here's the thing about what works on Wall Street. It stopped working almost immediately. The mutual funds based on these time-tested strategies were a total disaster. If you had put $100 into a simple S&P 500 index fund, you'd have about $190. But in his aggressive growth fund, your $100 would have shrunk to just $60. The guy who created the strategy eventually just turned the funds over to somebody else, leaving his investors holding the bag. Then there was another one, this popular formula called the Foolish Four. It promised to trash the market averages with minimal risk. But the steps, they were just bizarre. The strategy had you find 5 specific stocks, then deliberately throw out the one with the best numbers, and then concentrate 40% of your money into just one of the stocks that were left. It was this convoluted, nonsensical process that was sold as some kind of secret key to wealth.
So let's just stop and ask a common sense question. Does any strategy that tells you to put 40% of your entire portfolio into a single stock sound like it has minimal risk? Of course not. It completely violates the basic idea of diversification. And what kind of thorough analysis tells you to throw out the stock with the most attractive numbers? None. This wasn't a strategy, it was just data mining. They found a random pattern that worked in the past and sold it like it was a magic formula. And sure enough, in 2000, the Foolish Four stocks lost 14%, while the overall Dow dropped by less than 5%. Another total fiasco.
So after all that chaos, all that nonsense, what's the alternative? How do you actually build real, lasting wealth? Well, you go back to the beginning. You build your financial house on a durable foundation of timeless, proven principles.
And that's why we have to come back to these bedrock principles. Think of them as your personal quality control. Thorough analysis isn't about having a crystal ball. It's about understanding what a business is worth today. Safety of principle is your defense, making sure that even if you're wrong, you don't get wiped out. An adequate return is about being realistic. You're looking for solid, sustainable growth, not a winning lottery ticket. This framework, it isn't sexy, but it's what builds wealth that lasts and protects you from the siren song of the next big thing.
Okay, but let's be real. That gambling instinct, it's part of human nature. It can be fun, right? The key isn't to pretend it doesn't exist. That's probably not going to work. The key is to control it, to put it in a box and keep it there.
So if you feel that itch, if you must speculate, here are the 3 critical rules of engagement. Number 1, be brutally honest with yourself. You have to know that you are speculating, not investing. Number 2, never take it too seriously. Speculating becomes mortally dangerous the second you start betting the farm. And number 3, you absolutely must put strict, unbreakable limits on how much money you're willing to risk.
So what's a strict limit? Here it is. A hard and fast rule. 10%. That's it. Think of this as your Mad Money account. No more than 10% of your total portfolio should ever be exposed to that kind of speculative risk. This is the money you can truly afford to lose without wrecking your long-term financial goals.
And this part is non-negotiable. You have to build a firewall. You keep this Mad Money account completely separate from your serious long-term investment accounts. That physical separation helps create a mental separation, and you must never, ever allow the gambling mindset you use with that 10% to spill over and infect the prudent, business-like decisions you make with your other 90%.
Look, if you only take one single thing away from this entire video, let it be this. This is the fundamental rule. Be honest with yourself about what you are doing. Are you acting like a business owner, buying a piece of a company for the long haul? Or are you a gambler at the casino, just betting on red or black? Knowing the difference, that is everything.
We spent a lot of time today talking about that first pillar of investing, thorough analysis. If you want to learn how to really perform that analysis on companies from all around the world, you can subscribe to the membership to get exclusive videos that you won't find anywhere else. Thanks so much for watching.